back. You're watching Markets at Noon on Etnow. Let's bring on board the management of an important company, one that's been in the news for the last couple of months, and that's NMDC. It delivered its Q1 numbers, and yes, obviously we did see the COVID impacts, but I think more than that, the spotlight has been shown on the fact that the board has approved the demerger of the Nagar steel plant, a 3 million ton steel plant that has long been in the works, but the company's just been missing the deadline for the commissioning. Let's bring on board the newly appointed Chairman and Managing Director of NMDC, Mr. Sumit Deb. Mr. Deb, thank you for joining us today on ET Now. So I guess you'll appreciate my first question being with respect to the demerger of the steel plant, because it's on that news that the stock price as well of NMDC ran up, and I'm going to dive straight into the details. Up until now, investors were not ascribing any value as such because, the steel plant was constantly being delayed, the commissioning wasn't happening. So let's talk about numbers. I mean, if we have to sort of ascribe a value to the steel plant, what's the capex you've incurred? What's the debt as well on NMDC's balance sheet? Because all of this will be carved out into the separate entities.
See, what happened was we have already spent an amount of almost 16,000 crores on the steel plant, and this is entirely our money which we have put in. So going forward, after that we have demerged this entity, we would like to take on some debt. So that would be for the balance capex around 4,000 crores, probably we will take on a debt portion.
Okay, so what sort of, and I'm sure this will free up the cash flows at NMDC as well, because now the capex, the debt, etc. will be incurred by the steel plant entity. So what sort of improvements in free cash flows can investors of NMDC expect?
Yes, we expect some free flow cash in NMDC to that extent, since we will be funding this through our debt only.
Sir, is the listing of the plant on the blocks, what will be the shareholding structure? What will NMDC shareholders get? Any rough valuation that you have in mind?
Right now, the demerged entity is just a mirror holding shareholding company which we have created, and later on, subsequently, it's a decision of the Government of India to whatever decision they take on the steel plant.
You have taken 3 consecutive price hikes in the last couple of months. Is the trigger better with domestic demand or surge in the iron ore prices globally? What is the future outlook on prices considering ore prices are at $125 per ton?
No, we basically NMDC has been always traditionally focused on the domestic market, and our exports are very limited, less than 10%. So this whatever price increases or has happened is because of the domestic demand, the increase in steel prices, production increases by the steel units. So it's based purely on the domestic demand. And we had taken actually a conscious decision to reduce prices during this COVID period when the demand had actually hugely gone down. Going forward, we hope the markets will be sustainable, and the prices will be good.
Okay, so your Q1 EBITDA margins cracked to 41%, but now you've taken price hikes, volumes as well are recovering. So what sort of improvement should we expect in the margins and the EBITDA or the profitability per ton?
Our EBITDA margins are down by around approximately 18%. However, we have taken a hit on the total EBITDA. But then going forward, once we ramp up our production, we are almost doing around 80 to 90% of our production right now. So we hope to end this year with whatever we have done last year. So going forward, things should be much better, and with the steel markets also doing well, we should hope things should be again come back to normal.
All right. What's the status on Chhattisgarh? We understand that there was a riff on royalty payments to the state government, but production there is sort of on a continuous up move. So is that all behind you now?
So So as far as Chhattisgarh goes, our productions are back to normal. So we are, I mean, there is hardly any slip-ups there, because except for the weather conditions which are during this period, which is a very normal case scenario. Otherwise, we are back to normal, and in fact, we are doing much better. If you look at CPLY production in June and July, we have done much better than last year. And in the August also, month of August, except for this weather, rain and foggy weather, we should be doing better. So we hope that production will ramp up, and whatever losses in production in the first quarter, we lost around 1.8 million tons. So that would be made up.
So while you may have seen a good pickup in June and July, have monsoons played a dampener in terms of volumes for the month of August?
Yes, if you look at the month of August has been a little bad for us in terms of rainfall. I mean, we have almost received in that region, we have received more than 200 centimeters of rain, which is really very high compared to the previous year. So August has been a little slow. Going forward, I think there is no issue on production. We are in fact investing in our loading points and our technology also. So we should be hopefully going forward, things should be much better.
So much, sir, for taking out time for us. Always good to get perspective from you. On that note, we'll also welcome in Dr. C.K. Narayan now. He joins us every afternoon. Dr. Narayan, what's your view on the markets today? I mean, you know, one can say that Nifty is just down 70, 80 or maybe 100 odd points. But what is the sense that you get with the sort of cut that you have seen so far?
Well, see, we were having a tremendously good run over the last several days, and even though lots of people knew that the chime of the music in the party was growing a little louder, nobody really wanted to leave, because everybody was having a good time, which is very typical of a bullish face. And but all of us were opining that yes, here and there some caution needs to be exercised, but at times like this nobody listens. So typically what happens is that everybody in the market, particularly the small investors, they generally tend to get a little bit over leveraged. So what you saw today was a sharpish cut on